Hey, welcome to the Ben and Lauren Show.
Another week down.
Another week down. We'll fade out. Yeah, that's good stuff.
That's good.
All right. Welcome to the Ben and Lauren Show. Here we are. I'm Ben. This is Lauren. I think if you're watching my, two or three people watch your show, you probably know who we are.
Probably do by now.
We're expecting our audience to grow with time.
How are you this week, Ben?
I'm good. Every time I move, I think I kind of shake the camera a little bit, but that's okay.
Probably, but that's why we moved to the couch, because sitting on stools at the island is uncomfortable.
Yeah, we were sitting at the island, and my bottom was getting a little sore.
That might be TMI.
So we're sitting in this nice couch here, kind of lounging a little bit. Lauren's got her tea. I already drank my decaf coffee.
We all got a cold around here this week, except Ben. He's fine.
Yeah.
But I need tea.
Yeah. So Lauren got sick. Two of my girls got sick. I'm okay.
Daniel seems okay, too.
Our youngest was okay, too. So that was our adventures of the week.
Yeah, most of it was pretty much take care of kids with colds.
So what do we want to talk about this Ben and Lauren show that we got going here?
Well, since we've had kids with colds, we've had opportunity to be home a lot.
Yeah.
Done a lot of reading. We saw some debates happen online.
I wanted to mention today there was a beautiful thunderstorm.
Oh, yeah, we did.
It was gorgeous. And we took the girls and brought them over to the window, and they were having a blast. They'd put their hand out the window and feel the rain. They'd open up the door wall, and
they collected water and put it in the Berkey.
They thought that was fun. Our street flooded, and they went out and got the bucket out and scooped up water.
If we ever end up in a survival situation, they'll know about finding rainwater to put in the Berkey.
Yeah, that's the first thing they did. They brought in, Daddy, I want to put it in the Berkey. So they put it in the Berkey.
I think one of them suggested washing their hair, but they never got quite that far.
We're getting used to drinking rainwater from a Berkey.
Hello, Sakote.
Yeah.
So we watched debates happen online this week, so we had a lot of conversation about what is the right way to have a good argument.
And I don't think we necessarily have the answer, per se, but I think we have some ideas that might be good to review for ourselves and for other people.
But it's what we spent most of the week talking about. How do you have a good argument?
Yeah, without calling people names, without wanting to grab their neck and wring them.
Yeah, we watch most arguments just devolve into a fight, which doesn't help a lot of people. And the idea is, if you could have a good argument, you really should have both people end up walking away. Even if they're not convinced of the other person, they at least had a good conversation. They should walk away knowing better why they believe what they believe.
Exactly.
Even if neither one was convinced of the other, it should be strong. It should be something that strengthens both of them.
So we put some thoughts together as far as what are the top 4 rules of a good argument.
We had 3, but we really figured we had to have 4.
And I said debate, because debate sounds a lot more civil, but really I think we are talking about arguments, because it's a disagreement. One person has one stance, one perspective, someone else has another perspective, and it's an argument.
A debate is more like, these days, a debate is like a presentation to an audience.
Mm-hmm.
An argument is more like 2 people speaking face to face having a disagreement.
Now, I find myself having an easier time having debates having to do with the Bible. And the reason that is because you have an external perspective to pursue. When you're 2 people debating an opinion, it's just a matter of whose opinion is going to win. But there is another outside perspective. It's called truth. And if both people are pursuing truth, then they have that outside perspective to try to view it from that perspective. And if both people are honest and are sincerely pursuing truth, then they would be willing to concede or agree or change their mind or have another person change their mind.
But it's not really my way versus your way. We're going to get into a fight about it. It's like, well, this is what I see, and you say this is what I see, and either we agree or disagree, but it really isn't me versus you.
Mm-hmm.
It's about finding a truth, and that's really the first rule for a good argument, is that it's not my will versus your will. It's, let's figure out if we can find a better way of understanding truth here. Doesn't always work, but that should be the first thing.
Right, and if all parties involved are interested in truth, then when your opponent, per se, in your argument brings up a point you hadn't thought of before, You should be happy about that.
It shouldn't insult you.
Shouldn't be insulting.
No, it should be just, oh, that's interesting.
Actually, more than that, that's exciting.
Right. Well, what we put on the list first, though, there was that an argument should be about seeking truth.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing is you should respect the person that you're arguing with.
Absolutely. Even if you disagree with them, especially if you disagree with them, remember the respect. Cause yourself to respect the other individual, and that way you're not just setting them up as a straw man that you're going to just knock down.
Right. This is another person who presumably is intelligent. Mm-hmm. I mean, even if you think the idea is dumb, you should respect the other person as intelligent enough to have this conversation with. Otherwise, why are you bothering?
One of the biggest difficulties I see is I will imagine my opponent, the person I'm arguing with, and I imagine them as something a little bit different than they actually are. Something weaker, something kind of foolish, something easy to defeat. That's that whole straw man idea.
Right.
You know, you set them up, and they're not really that person. They're a caricature of that person. Right. And sometimes that caricature is ugly.
And usually you make it an ugly because you're looking for someone to oppose and knock down.
Mm-hmm.
You're not looking for someone to have a conversation with. It's just, I'm going to knock down this stupid idea, and there's a person attached to it.
And that person could just,
right.
You don't really want to knock that person down, but you want to knock down that silly idea of a person. You want to win.
Right.
And that's a danger. That's a danger. Even people you respect, people that you normally do respect, it's easy to show disrespect by not realizing or arguing with the actual person.
Right. You have a lot of arguments that go, you moron.
Do you really think your opponent is a moron? Probably not.
Well, actually, probably you do, because that's what you make them in your minds.
Right. But are they really a moron?
No. So the second one is, actually, I think this would be the third one now. So you need to be ready to give an answer, a source for what you're saying, or you should say, I don't know.
Yeah.
If someone comes up with a point that you really can't answer, one of the most maddening things in any argument I've seen lately, there seems to be this tendency, especially online, if you're talking to somebody and they bring up something that's a little uncomfortable to you or you don't know quite how to answer. And inevitably, it seems like in these debates, I'll see somebody who goes, why don't you just Google that? I shouldn't have to do your research for you. It's like, you got into this conversation. The question was asked that was perfectly reasonable. Even if it's an obvious question, if you don't know the answer, say, I don't know. If you do know the answer, give the answer, even if it seems to you ridiculously simple. If you're going to get into a conversation, back up what you say. And if you can't back up what you say, admit it.
And really, even if they should do their own research, don't say it. It's condescending.
It's really condescending. Yeah. It's arrogant.
It's arrogant. So it is true. If you do a lot of research and someone comes along and asks you all these questions and you don't feel like answering them because they're too simplistic, that's before step one.
Don't ever, ever, ever tell someone, well, why don't you do your research? That's rude. If you're going to talk like that, don't bother getting into a debate or an argument. Just don't do it. Also,
the first person to levy an insult at the person you're arguing with loses.
Yeah, no name calling. That should absolutely. But that's back to the respect.
That's back to the respect.
Just don't call names. Don't call the other person stupid or a moron. Or my favorite is when people start inventing names for another political party, like they'll say libtard instead of a liberal.
Yeah, they're not going to get anywhere that way.
No, that's useless. Or renaming people, like calling Donald Trump, calling him Donald Dump was one of the ones I saw, or calling Hillary Killery. Don't do that. This doesn't help anything.
No,
just don't do it.
It doesn't. I mean, if you're just doing an echo chamber, then it doesn't really matter. It's not good to mock. But if you're actually talking in a debate or an argument with another ideology or another idea, there's no benefit at all.
So, and the last point is really listen.
I sometimes have trouble with that.
I think everybody might.
Because sometimes I'll have an idea, I'm all poised to make my next point, and I'm just going to hit my home run, knock them out, KO, and it's like, stop talking, I got to knock you out.
The other person's going, wah, 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 wah,
wah.
and you're just waiting for them to stop so you
can make your point. But that's no way to win an argument at all.
You basically are not hearing whatever they're saying.
Right.
You're just trying to get you're listening to your own voice talk.
Right. So one of the keys is to actually be willing to give up your next thought. If you have something planned that's just going to be the slam dunk, case closed thing, don't dwell on that. Listen to what your opponent is saying, what the other person on the other side of the argument is saying, and think. Think about what they're saying and what would be an appropriate response. And be genuine. Be genuine. And you can tell if the person you're talking to is actually listening by the response you give.
Yeah, the thoughtfulness of a response will change if the person has really listened to you. You can tell if someone's just raring to go and get their point in versus hearing what you just said. So those were things that we thought of. And those all apply to in-person arguments and in online arguments, because there's a lot of people who will be writing and not paying attention to what the person just said.
Yeah, now in-person arguments go quite differently than the type you type out. When you're typing, man, your fingers, it just goes straight from brain to fingers, and you don't have any time to filter it. And it gets people in trouble really, really fast. So
we were thinking about what arguments bring out the worst in people, and we figured what's the argument that we've encountered lately where we see people actually like fly into a fury if the topic is even suggested.
I could think of a few.
We thought of a handful, but probably the one that brings out the most is the one we've heard recently, is the flat Earth conversation.
She said it, not me.
The flat Earth versus globe Earth. We'll get it out of the way. Yes, people are still having this conversation. So there's two ways this conversation could go, and we've seen it happen over and over. And one is a good and productive way, and one is a useless way that goes absolutely nowhere. So should we do the bad way first?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to do a little play acting.
Okay.
We're going to see how this goes, what not to do. Or are we going to do the good argument or the bad argument first?
I think we should do the bad one first.
Okay.
It's more amusing anyway.
All right.
Okay, so here. I'll put my normal guy hat on, which means...
Normal girl hat on.
Okay, normal girl hat on. I get to be the person who's going to say all the things that everybody would normally say when you hear this ridiculous question. I mean, this controversial question. And
I'll be the flat earther.
I like your hat.
You know, Lauren, as soon as I put this on, all the RF waves going around our house just completely bounce off my skull, and I can actually think clearly for a minute.
This is how you got the nickname Tin Hat Turner. You know that.
You know, I think I might just sleep with this on tonight. I mean, all of a sudden, all these voices in my head just go away.
You hear voices?
What, you don't? Just kidding.
Maybe we better get on with this play acting argument.
So, let's give an example of a bad argument.
Okay. I'll look at what we thought. Oh, okay.
So, you know the Earth is flat, right?
What?
What?
What kind of moron in this day and age even asks that question?
I mean, come on. You've been to the beach. You've seen it. Come on.
Haven't you ever flown in a plane? I mean, even a dumb person flies in a plane and sees the curve of the Earth. Everybody who's been in an airplane sees the curve of the Earth. What's wrong with you?
Usually it's the other way around. Usually it's the globalist that's mad at the tinfoil hat guy.
No, that's true. But we're interrupting the argument.
Sorry.
So basically, neither one of us thought anything about the other person. You think I'm an idiot because I don't think the Earth is flat. I think you're an idiot because you don't know what everybody knows. The Earth is a globe.
So whenever you have a very controversial idea, that's when the arguments get very, very, very heated.
People even will storm out of the room.
Not speaking from, we might be speaking from personal experience.
Okay, so that's the way a bad argument goes. You basically start off with neither side is ever going to budge. They're just going to insult the other person, make the other person mad.
Yeah.
And they're going to walk away each thinking the other one is an idiot. They might even lose a friendship over it.
Yeah. And people get really, really mad.
Really mad. So that was a bad argument. Now, a good argument can go kind of more like this.
The Earth is flat.
What? Did you just say the Earth was flat?
Yeah.
Why would you think that?
Well, you see, I watched a boat going out, and it was supposed to disappear past the curve, and then I got a telescope and was able to zoom back, and I could see the boat again.
You mean the boat came back into focus? Well, that's pretty weird. Well, what are your thoughts on flying in an airplane? I mean, most people who fly in an airplane say they can see a curve.
Well, did you really see a curve? Now, if you took a picture with a camera and then put that into Photoshop and drew a straight line across it, would you still see a curve?
Well, I would assume so.
Well, it might be a good experiment.
Well, maybe I'll have to try that next time I'm in an airplane. Are you sure? You
Give it a
really
sh-
think the Earth might be flat?
Give it a shot.
I'll have to try that.
I don't know.
Very short argument.
I don't know if that's the best argument ever, but at least it's being civil. I think our play acting's a little shaky.
Either way.
You know, I just want an excuse to put the hat on.
Well, that's why we chose such a crazy topic of discussion.
Right. Now, this can apply for anything. You know, even if it's a political argument, if it's a biblical argument, at least be civil. At least try not to insult the person you're arguing with. Show some respect.
And remember, the other person probably did not roll out of bed and just come up with this idea this morning.
Right. There's more to it.
Don't tell them that off the top of your head, you can refute what they might have been thinking through for months and months and months.
Now, the question everybody's going to ask, has Ben and Lauren ever argued over anything?
We did argue over that.
Yeah, we did. We actually got asked that one time. They said, you too, do you ever fight? And we said, no, we don't ever fight. Well, do you ever argue?
Yes.
And we said, yeah, we argue.
We've argued about things.
We argue.
I remember when I first met you and you told me that you thought that the Gospel of John wasn't written by John.
Full of controversial ideas. What can I say?
And I said, what are you talking about?
My thought, I don't need to defend myself here, but I'm just, it was something that she didn't really like.
But then I had to say, okay, if you don't think the Gospel of John was written by John, now that I think about it, I don't know the authors of a whole bunch of books in the Bible. And when I started thinking that, I said, well, who did you think wrote John?
I forget what I said.
I think you said you thought Philip wrote John.
Crazy
anyway,
conspiracy theories.
The point was we had that argument fairly early on in our relationship.
Yeah, we did.
But we were able to have good arguments. So the answer is yes, we do have arguments. We just don't fight.
I think the key to having a good argument is to realize that there is a universal answer. There is a universal truth. And if both parties are seeking after it, then whoever wins, whoever loses, it doesn't matter.
Hopefully truth wins, falsehood loses.
Right. And the loser, the supposed loser of the argument, should be rejoicing and be happy.
Yeah, wasn't there a proverb about if you hand a wise man, if you rebuke a wise man, he will love you?
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
And it's true. A wise man who gets rebuked will actually love you for it. He will be excited about it. It's the fool that gets angry.
I'm pretty sure it's if you rebuke a wise man, he'll love you.
She's looking it up.
I'm looking it up. Just because.
All right, so I'm going to do a little tap dance and improvise. What's the...
Instruct a wise man, and he will be wiser still. Teach a righteous man, and he will increase in learning. That's the one that's coming up with. I thought it would say that he loved you. Give instruction to a wise man, he will be still wiser. Teach a righteous man, and he will increase in learning. Do not reprove a scoffer, or he will hate you. Reprove a wise man, and he will love you. That's the one I was thinking about.
Reprove a wise man, and he will love you.
Whoever corrects a scoffer gets himself abuse, and he who reproves a wicked man incurs injury.
Yeah.
So, I don't think we want to be the wicked man or the scoffer.
And the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's kind of a slow podcast tonight. That's what happens when you have 3 kids with a cold all week.
And decaf coffee.
Oh, you're decaffeinated?
I'm decaffeinated Ben tonight.
Oh, that explains it.
So this has been the Ben and Lauren Show, not as as upbeat. But we're on the comfy couch. We got our nice drinks, having nice philosophical conversations, and I can finally have the voices in my head.
If you want to know what we talk about at night, this is kind of us talking at night.
A little bit.
How do you have a good argument, Ben? Anyway.
Yeah, and it's hard to watch arguments. It's hard to watch people that you care for
hurt each other. And you can see that they're talking past each other like this.
And we're not claiming that we're the best. I'm going to take this hat off. That we're the best debaters and arguers ever. We're not boasting. These are observations that we've made over time. How to have a good argument and not be so focused on winning the argument or being so offended that it blinds your eyes to see. That's the other point I wanted to make. Trying to look at things from the perspective of the other person. Suspending belief, but not accepting.
You don't have to
another point of view.
You don't have to accept what someone else is saying to sit down and listen to what they've said so that you understand it.
Right.
You understand why they are thinking what they are thinking. And if you can understand why someone is thinking what they're thinking, you may understand yourself better why you think what you think.
So if someone comes to you and says something extremely offensive and
like
upsetting,
the earth is flat.
Like anything, the proper response really should be, why do you think that?
Why would you think that way?
Why do you think that way? Or what led you to that conclusion? That's a serious question. It's a respectful question. If you just, get the cognizant dissonance thing and say, I don't like this idea, you're an idiot, go away from me. I mean,
it won't go anywhere.
It's not going to go away. You're going to get something else. And that's for anything, really.
So that's been our philosophical conversation of the week.
Yep.
Hope it wasn't too boring tonight.
I hope you guys have a wonderful day.
We need to find some more hot sauce to try.
I had a tinfoil hat. That's even more exciting.
Okay. Have a good evening.
Have a good evening.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.